What's up, everybody? So I wanted to do this video, um, pretty much just to raise awareness. Um, I've been wanting to share this story for a while, and I just, I guess I just needed a minute to get myself together to share it, and I wanted some time to go by before I just put it out there. So basically, I had to report my therapist. I'm not going to share my therapist's name or the company she works for. If you want to know that information, you would have to contact me directly if you're in the Pittsburgh area. And yeah, I will give you that information in that regard, but I'm not going to post that information online. So let's talk. Um, so let me give you a little backstory. I had went through a series of car accidents. Um, I'll name a few. There was a time when I was on the parkway. We were approaching the tunnel, and it was raining. The car in front of me, it made an abrupt stop when it could have really made it through the tunnel. But the light above the tunnel had turned red really quickly. So the car in front of me made an abrupt stop. I tried to stop. I hydroplaned into that car. Another car hydroplaned into me, into the back of me. So I was smashed into between um, two cars. Luckily, nobody got hurt, and there was no damage. If there was any damage, it was very minimal damage. So that happened. I had another situation where a lady rear-ended me. I was Ubering a lady. It was like 2 in the morning. I had a rider in my car, and I was stopped at a stop sign. And the lady, I just felt like boom. Lady rear-ended me. It took my whole back bumper off my brand new car. Um, that was another car accident. Um, there was another accident where I was on the parkway. My lane was closing, so there was an X above my lane, so I had to try to get over. The lane to the left of me was like congested, but it was at a stop. So I put my blinker on, and I'm about to proceed to, I'm in the process of proceeding to get over in front of a truck. Well, as he stopped, as I pull over, he goes forward and it rips off my bumper. Um, so that was a car accident. Um, there was another time where I had just dropped someone off, and I'm driving on this dark, windy road, and a deer hits this little tip corner. Now it's dark, it's like midnight, it's on a dark, windy road. Speed limit is 25, so I'm not going fast. But I didn't want to swerve out of his way because it's nothing but trees around me. And I would have, if I would have swerved, I probably would have been killed. My car would have flipped, whatever. Deer wasn't killed. Um, he, the only thing that was messed up on my car was just the casing of the headlight. And I got to do visuals. So the headlight's right here in the front. He hit right here. So the casing was cracked and his fur was on that little corner of the headlight. The headlight was perfectly fine, but that plastic part over it was cracked. The deer fell. We were looking at each other face to face. I started screaming. He goes running off into the night. Um, I'm trying to think if I now keep in mind this happened all, let me see, within the last, it happened between 2017 and 2019. It was like back to back stuff. And I've been driving since I was probably like 18, 17, 18. But this stuff just happened back to back. And then uh maybe late 2016, I was driving my old vehicle. And as I'm driving, I hear boom. Um, Whatever hit my windshield made a bulge on the passenger side of my windshield, right? A bulge inward. It didn't bust the windshield, but whatever hit my windshield, I feel like maybe it was a brick, maybe it was some kids who was throwing stuff because I didn't run into anything. I didn't hit anybody, but something almost went through my windshield to the point where there was glass all over my dashboard and inside my car. But like I said, the window was not busted open, but it was bulged in. That was the start of these series of accidents. Um, Two more. This one was very traumatizing for me, but I have to share it. I have to share it because this one was like the one. But so um, I was driving. I had a passenger in my car. Now, keep in mind, I was a top-rated Uber driver for many years. Um, but I was overworking myself. And that particular day, I had worked a shift and then worked a shift after that. I had somebody in my car, and I'm at the intersection. I'm about to turn onto a very busy street. Cars are rolling this way in front of me. So my head, when you're about to turn, the front of your car is kind of angled outward to the right to let people know you're about to turn right. So I'm looking, don't see anything. And just as I take my foot off the brake onto the gas, a man on a bike, he gets hit. Now, what happened is, and this is going to sound crazy, because I think he was trying to beat me across the front before I could turn. And like I said, I'm kind of, I got my old phone here. I'm kind of turned like this because I'm about to make my turn on. But as soon as I take it off, he's on the front of my car. He throws his body. He's here. He throws his body off, but he lands on his feet, right? Because I wasn't going fast. I had just taken my foot off the gas. So his bike gets totaled. He lands on his feet. He's perfectly fine. He's not hurt. He has a helmet on. His bike gets totaled. I began to cry. Oh, I was crying so bad. And the cops came, and he actually told the cops, he was like, it was my fault. She didn't see me. Like, I tried to pass her. She didn't see me. So that happened. And then the last one was, I was in work. My car was parallel parked on a street that has street parking. I was not even in my car at all. Was not in my car, wasn't even around my car. My car was parked on the side of the street. Well, two cars hit each other, ricocheted off of each other, and hit my car. So I'm in work, and the neighbor comes in, and she's like, I think somebody's car got hit. And I instantly am like, it's probably mine, just because I had been through so much with dealing with that. So I look out the window, and surely enough, it's my car who was hit by these two vehicles. So it was just a series of stuff happening in my to my car, whether I was in it or not. Um, so that's the start. That's the pre part of this story that you need to know. So I went through this stage of depression and anxiety, and I started to feel like I was having a panic attack. Like I didn't feel comfortable driving for a long time, but there was nothing I could do about it. I had to, provide for myself. So I just started I took leave from work. I started going to therapy, right? I was probably about a year into therapy. And so then I went through some financial struggles and I had to drive full time at that point. And when I had to drive full time at that point, I had to take a pause from therapy, right? So I took a pause from therapy for like a month. So during that month is when the car accident with the man on the bike. And that was so very traumatic for me because I'm like, why? I'm so grateful that he was okay, but it was like flat. I would have flashbacks of him being on my car. Like I was in the deepest depression, and I'm so grateful he's okay. But I was in the deepest depression for the longest time after that. And I pulled myself out of that and I started feeling good again. I started getting, being myself again. My money got right again and I started going back to therapy. So I go back to therapy and the very first thing I say to her after having not seen her for like a month, I say to her, so I was in another car accident and she was like, well, I'm not surprised. Matter of fact, I don't even want to hear about any of your other car accidents. As far as I'm concerned, every car accident you were in was your fault. So this is what she said to me after having not seen me for a month. And I wrote down, I got my notes right here because the way it impacted me was heavy. She says to me, they should take your driver's license. You should not be on the road. You are not mindful. You are not present. You're going to end up killing yourself. You are a horrible, horrible driver. Horrible driver. I will never get behind the wheel of a car with you again. Now, keep in mind, I'm a 5-star rated Uber driver. I've been Ubering for years. I live 2 hours. My hometown is 2 hours away. So I'm driving back and forth home. I'm an entertainer, so I'm driving to different cities for that. I'm Ubering full time. I am, yeah, I'm behind my wheel of my car constantly trying to make ends meet because at that time I was not working full time and I was trying to take care of rent, car payment, everything by myself. So let me give you a little piece of the story that I had not given you. My therapist had asked me to take her and her husband to the airport, right? And so she was going to pay me because her and her husband were going on a vacation. So in June or so, I drive her and I drive her and her husband to the airport. And by the end of the week, I'm supposed to pick her up. And when I called to pick her up, she said, "Oh, it's cool. I found somebody else to pick us up." I said, "Okay." All right. Now, me being me, I'm too busy to even think anything of it. I was just like, shrugs. Maybe a family member is available now. So that's why she was in my car with me. And yeah, so that's why she was in my car. Now, me, I'm used to Ubering, so when I'm taking somebody to the airport, especially during rush hour traffic in Pittsburgh, I have to go. And usually I get tips for having to go. Like what? Airport, you gotta be there in just a short amount because people aren't familiar. If you've never been in Pittsburgh, the rush hour traffic is really crazy here. And you are not if you're far away, you're not gonna make your flight. So I'm used to vroom vroom when it's time to get to that airport. And so when I took her, I was like vroom vroom, right? And the last two people, like I said, tipped me for being, getting them there safely, and we speedy on the go, right? So I did that, but I didn't think anything of it when I took her. I didn't think that I was going too fast. She never told me I was going too fast. I would ask her certain things. She's like, "Oh yeah, it's cool. I'm not in a rush." And so her casually saying I'm not in a rush apparently meant you're driving too fast, you're scaring me. But I did not know that. So I want to make sure I add that in. So she said, I will never get behind the wheel of a car with you again. Couldn't you couldn't you tell me and my husband didn't call you back? Because I was like, well, how come? Because me, when she's saying this to me, she's yelling it at me. And I had not seen her for a month. So I'm looking at her like I'm blindsided. Like I was like, what? What? And my mind is trying to wheel back because we didn't have any negative interactions that day. She didn't tell me I was going too fast. Nothing, there was no indicators that I did anything wrong. So for me, I'm like completely blindsided, completely thinking like, are you joking? And then realizing you're not joking and then trying to process what went on and not really finding out what went on. So I'm like, well, how come you didn't tell me? And she's like, couldn't you tell when me and my husband didn't come back with you? And I was like, no. She's like, I said to you several times that I was not in a rush and you didn't get the point. She said Uber should have never hired you. And keep in mind, I worked for Uber for years, years, 5-star rating, did thousands, did over 1,000 rides. Uber should have never hired you. You need to quit Uber. I don't even want to hear about your car accident. I don't even want to hear about your car accident because, as far as I'm concerned, every accident was your fault. This is what she said to me. Um, she's screaming this at me, and I said to her, I said, "Well, how come you didn't say anything?" I shouldn't have had to say nothing. I shouldn't have had to say nothing. But the way I am is, if I say something, then I'm gonna go too far. So I just decided to be quiet. And I said, well, that's a that's a simple conversation. Like, if you think I'm driving too fast, just tell me I'm driving too fast, and I can slow down. I'm like, I'm a very accommodating person, y'all. And had she just said it, and we had worked together for a year at that point, so she really could have said it to me while we were driving. And then my thing is too, during the session, you could have said, you need to be more cautious, you need to be more this, and she could have just said it once and been done, and I would have got the point, and we would have been fine. Or she could have, girl, you had me scared, haha. I would have been like, really? And so I said, well, I'm sorry that was your experience. She said, well, you don't have to apologize to me because I learned my lesson. I ain't never getting in no car with you again. This is my therapist. I'm at a paid therapy session with her, another African American woman. And she says this to me, and I wanted to bust out crying because, like I said, that car accident with the man, if you don't understand the deep, darkest depression that I was in, and I finally pulled myself out of that, the man didn't even want to call insurance. He didn't even want to tell the police nothing other than it wasn't her fault. I actually ended up getting a settlement from the lady who rear-ended me when I was stopped. And you're telling me every accident I've ever been in was my fault, and you don't want to hear what happened to me, and this is my paid therapy session. So I left that therapy session, and then when I left there, what she said to me was, be kind to you. That's what she would say after every session. And in addition to that, I was telling her about this situation with this man I had been dating. And, it was a back and forth situation. She's like, and I don't understand why you still dating him. I mean, like, when I leave somebody, I leave him for good. Like, what do that kind of thing. It was horrible. I was so, how there's fight, flight, and freeze. I was freeze. Like, I was like a deer in headlights because I didn't know what to do. In my mind, I'm like, should I get up and walk out? I just knew I was never coming back there. I knew I was not coming back there. And I paid her. I went ahead and paid her, and I shouldn't have, but I was still in freeze. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just need to get out of here. I don't want no dealings with her ever again after this. And I paid her and I left. Like I said, she was like, be kind to you. And was leaving, I'm thinking like, you're not kind to me. And so for weeks I was torn on what to do because I'm like, I don't want to report another black woman. I don't want to report this black woman. She's successful. I look up to her professionally. I don't want to do that to her. I don't want her to get her license taken or anything. And I was angry that I was put in this position to have to do this because, it's hard for us. And I'm proud of you and what you've accomplished, all that type of stuff. But I decided I had to do it. I had to do it. So once I came to grips with things, I reported her. I reported her to licensing. And they asked me what I wanted to do on the report. And I said, I just want her to know that not to do this to anybody else again. And then somebody came out to speak to me. We met at a restaurant and I gave them all the information they wanted to know verbatim. And he asked me what I wanted to do too. And I just wanted her to pretty much get the notice of don't do this. I don't want her license taken. I don't want any of that stuff. But to me, the way I feel about it is she needs to know she can't do this to anybody else again. And like, I'm so anxious when I drive now, and I've been complimented on my driving before. And I ain't gonna front, I can drive crazy too. I can get us there too. So depending on what you need, I can do it. But after these occurrences, it makes me so anxious driving these days. Like I get anxious driving now. And she made it worse. And so the way I feel about it is I'm glad she did it to me because I'm in the field, I'm in social services. I'm a crisis counselor. Um, I'm a crisis counselor, teacher counselor. Um, so I'm glad because I'm in the field. I'm glad it happened to me because now I know that that's just a people issue. It's a people problem. So I'm glad you did it to me and not nobody else because real talk, had you did this to somebody who was suicidal, that person might have left your facility and killed themselves. And so luckily you did it to me to where I just was like, I'm not gonna therapy shouldn't feel like this. So now I left and now I'm seeing a new therapist who I enjoy talking to, another professional African American woman. Um, and I'm just and this my new therapist had to apologize for her. For her. I'm sorry you had to go through that. This lady never reached out to apologize to me. Actually, I was performing at a restaurant. Her and her husband happened to be there. They sat there and pretended not to ever, like she didn't know me and dipped out. And I expected it. I'm not mad at her. I was hurt and disappointed and shocked, um, and appalled. But I'm not like mad at her. Um, like I said, I just needed her to know that it's better that you did that to me, not anybody else, because somebody else might have blamed therapy. And I've been seeing my current therapist for a while now, and it is so incredibly helpful to me to be there and just to, because I have a lot going on. Um, so it's just helpful to be able to purge and say everything you need to say and have somebody who's actively listening to you, somebody that will give you ideas and thoughts maybe that you hadn't considered and ask you questions that might help you delve deeper into your thoughts and feelings about certain situations. So I'm so glad and grateful that I am in therapy. And so this isn't a knock on therapy by any means. Please go, but you have to find someone that works and fits with you. You do. And in the event that they don't do that, or that changes, you have to be willing to go and find somebody else. Like my mom always says, it's your responsibility to see that you're fed. And if that person's not feeding you, you have a right to go to somewhere else. You don't have to go as far as I did. I filed a complaint with licensing, um, because there was no way that that was okay. That was not okay by any means. It's a therapeutic setting. I could have had 30 accidents and I could have caused all of them, and you still ain't supposed to talk to me like that. Um, I don't know, but I want you to take control of your healing and of your self-care. And if somebody's not treating you in a way that you deem, whatever if you don't think is right, then you don't have to put up with it. If they're not treating you in a way that you deem is satisfactory, you can move on. You can find somebody else. You can set them boundaries. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to share my story of the time that I had to report my therapist. Um, I really, 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 really stand behind therapy and making sure you speak to somebody when you've gone through anything, really. But if especially traumatic situations, that you speak to somebody, you get that off your chest, because what seems to happen for me, I get overwhelmed and then it'll just keep replaying up here, and it never leaves up here because I'm thinking of a million things I should have said, a million ways I should have handled it, a million scenarios as to why it was caused. It never leaves here, and it keeps swirling around. And I can't have that swirling around along with my plans, along with my goals, along with my things to do, along with I can't have that. So it's a way to kind of purge those things. And it puts new meaning in certain things, and it helps you get deliverance from things that you really are bound by. And when you find the right therapist and the right person to talk to, um, it changes things. It changes things. So this is your girl Sherelle Unique. Please send me any questions you have. Message me. Let me know what you think. This is still, as you can see, a heavy topic for me, sensitive topic for me, because I couldn't understand why stuff kept happening to me back to back. I felt like it was spiritual at that point. Um, I felt like it was spiritual, but I will say that once I got my settlement from the lady rear ended me, like that was a turnaround. I mean, money's always a good thing, but for me, it felt full circle because it was like, ha, I did not cause every accident I was in. Everything was not my fault. I just, yeah, for me, it was when things came around full circle once that was settled. Um, but write me, let me know what y'all think. Just a moment of transparency. Like I said, it's something I still deal with. I'm still going through. It's still heavy, and this happened 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019, September 2019. And here we are, 2021. Um, so for those who want to know, last accident I had was that the last one was actually 2020 in June, when those cars ricochet, they hit each other and it ricocheted into my car. But I haven't actually physically been in one myself since 2019. That was summer 2019 when the where the man actually with the bike. So, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. And I just wanted to share this, and I hope this is helpful for anybody that's watching. Um, yeah, that's what I want to say. Y'all be blessed. It's your girl Sherelle Unique. I'm out.